my name is Maggie Kaspersky. I'm the Director of Communications and Marketing at ASHTO, and also I'm lucky enough to be the staff liaison to the ASHTO Committee on Communications, or as many of us know it, Transcom. We have a lot of new folks registered for this webinar today as we kind of restart our monthly webinar series after a little bit of a break. So I thought I'd give you a little information on Transcom as we get started. Transcom mission is to facilitate the sharing of best practices among our state DOT members. The membership of this committee is comprised of the top communication officials from each of the 52 ASHTO member departments of transportation, and those people are appointed by each state DOT CEO. But we also have hundreds of friends of the committee, either in the private sector or at state DOTs that aren't officially on the committee, or even folks at other state agencies who participate in a lot of our activities. So the point is, all are welcome. Among other activities that we conduct, Transcom hosts an annual meeting that focuses also on best practices, state-to-state collaboration, and professional development. This year, Transcom 2025 will be held in Chicago from September 21st through 24th. You can find the registration link on Transcom's website, which is transportation.org/communications, or reach out to me for more info. And I'll say too, we've just extended the deadline for early bird registration, now July 1st instead of June 1st. So you have a little more time for that good rate. This particular webinar series is where we highlight the great work done by our state DOT communications offices. We share best practices and innovative ideas. And just so you know, I think a lot of people here know they're not officially on Transcom. It's open to anyone and everyone. So feel free to share the information on this series with friends and colleagues. And I'll also say this presentation, like all of our webinars, is recorded and uploaded to the Transcom website. So I'll now turn things over to our new Professional Development Subcommittee Chair, Kenna Mitchell of the Texas Department of Transportation. Kenna.
Hi, howdy from Texas, everyone. I'm Kenna Mitchell, and I'm excited to be the new chair of this subcommittee. I'm with TxDOT in Dallas and also spent a little time north of the Red River at the Oklahoma DOT. These webinars have always been a great resource to learn the latest topics and trends, to see what other states are doing, and most importantly, find out what we can repurpose for our own content. Our subcommittee has some transportation powerhouses on board, so I'd like to introduce them. First up, Paul Catul in Mississippi. Next is Elizabeth McMillan out in the Wild West of Utah. And up north, very far north, we have Shannon McCarthy in Alaska. And of course, thanks to Maggie for all her support and guidance for this team as we launch the new webinar series. The group is planning some great sessions in the future, so stay tuned with us. And please reach out to any of us with webinar ideas, or if you want to volunteer to help the subcommittee, even with presenting. I know everyone here has a good transportation tale or two or a lesson learned, and that can be shared with all the other states. We appreciate your help to make this a great learning experience for everyone. Now, we're relaunching the series today with a topic we all face: hiring and retention. We're going to hear from some colleagues in a few states on how their communications teams and agencies are trying some new approaches to find and keep talent. And we'll also have some time at the end for Q&A for our speakers. We're going to keep you on mute through the presentations, but you can either add questions to the chat or Q&A box, or raise your hand during the Q&A to be recognized. Please hold those questions until the end. Now, on to our speakers. First, you'll hear from Jennifer Dooley. She's the Public Relations Division Director of the West Virginia DOT. She serves on an 8-person communications team handling press releases, social media, podcasts, video, and media response statewide from a single location in Charleston. She holds a Bachelor of Arts in Communication Arts from Concord University and a Master of Arts in Humanities from Marshall University. Next up, we're going to go further north to Joe Morrissey. He leads the communication efforts at the New York State Department of Transportation, but also worked at other New York State agencies, including the Department of Agriculture and Markets and the Department of Motor Vehicles. He currently serves as Assistant Commissioner for Strategic Communications, and with 8 years there, he is currently the longest-serving communications director in that agency's history, overseeing a staff of more than 20 communications professionals. Joining him will be Carol Green, Director of Multimedia and Marketing Operations. Lastly, we'll have Riley Egger and Heather V. Riley has been with the Nebraska DOT for almost 3 years as the Strategic Communications Manager. And in his role, he oversees the social media, website, graphic design, and photo and video teams. He also manages marketing and safety campaigns for the agency. Before joining the team, he spent 7 years in college athletics. And Heather has been with the Nebraska DOT for 10 years, double digits there. She is the talent and acquisitions manager and proudly calls herself a career matchmaker, connecting people to meaningful jobs and public service. She is always looking for creative ways to find people. Our presenters are going to go in the order that they were introduced. So first up is Jennifer with West Virginia DOT. Jennifer, I'm going to turn things over to you.
Thank you, Kenna. And also thank you, Maggie, for setting up the webinar, and Kenna for those lovely introductions. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here and get started. So welcome to West Virginia. West Virginia has the 6th largest highway system in the country, and we have a population of 1.77 million people. That's a very small population to take care of such a diverse bunch of roads, and that ranges everything from our interstate highways to our country roads, dirt roads, all around the state, all different types of roads. The West Virginia Department of Transportation, our human resources recruiting section, serves most of our DOT agencies. We have a total of 5,981 employees across our agencies. 5,323 of those are West Virginia Division of Highways. 639 are Division of Motor Vehicles. 19 are work for the Division of Multimodal Transportation Facilities. And then we also have a Parkways Authority, which does their own hiring. But our Human Resources section, of course, needs that boost from our public relations team to reach as people retire, and we seek specific types of jobs to fill those 5,981 current roles and the vacancies that we have now. In our human resources team, we have a powerhouse called, and her name is Natalie Holcomb. She has worked with us in our public relations division to kind of facilitate and work together to see how we can support them. She works with a great team, including Jeff, Tanya, Desiree, and others to take care of the hiring needs of the DOT. In our public relations division, we're an 8-person team. Brent Walker and I am the division director. He's the executive director. We also have a videographer dedicated, does drone footage and time-lapse videos, a lot of specialty stuff. Rusty, who is a 30-year newspaper writer who joined us a few years ago. Also very top-notch at research. We have a graphic designer named Chris, an internal communication specialist named Luke. Sean handles the multimodal and motor vehicles, and Nick handles public meetings and topics of specific public interest. With an 8-person team, we also have to cover for each other a lot, do a lot of cross-training. Several of us edit videos, several of us write and do different things so that we can cover the flow of stories and media inquiries and handle the whole ball of wax. As we start through, of course, I've got you on this slide for a little while so you can take in the full beauty of the New River Gorge Bridge, our newest national park here in West Virginia. But as I go through the handful of slides that we've prepared, I will tell you what we're doing and then what it takes to implement each of those areas. Each of these, of course, are a combination of the 8-person team we have here in our public relations. And none of these ideas are a heavy lift. So these could be adapted for any DOT in the country who wants to try some of these things, who may not be doing so yet. West Virginia Department of Transportation's Public Relations Division has a certain set of messages we try to include in every work we do, whether it's an external story like a press release we're sending out, or whether it's a communication to our employees. Some of these common themes is that West Virginia Department of Transportation is a caring and careful steward of the public's money. The West Virginia Department of Transportation is staffed by professionals who know their business and are experts at what they do. The West Virginia Department of Transportation is transparent, data-driven, and proactive. And we like to align these messages, whether it's, again, external or internal, because we realize that in our public relations division, we can shape our employees and their entire career, their work ethic with West Virginia Department of Transportation before they even apply for jobs here. And we continue to shape how they feel about their agency, which in turn shapes the actual work they can do. So in everything we do, we remain mindful of that. We are showcasing a data-driven agency that knows what it's doing. Our social media outreach. If you'd like to implement a little more social media, this one, we lucked into a very high quality graphic designer, Chris. These photos are local pictures. He puts together anything that our human resources team asks for specific types of hiring fairs and graphics for our social media. Of 3,430 new hires and 455 rehires surveyed from January 1st, 2023 to May 19th, 2025, 2,790 said they saw the open positions on Facebook. So Facebook is kind of a cornerstone of our social media. We have 86,000 followers on our main Facebook page. We also helped relaunch the careers Facebook page, which has 7,008, and those growing, of course, that's a relaunch. We also have X, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. To implement this, it's not a very heavy lift. Of course, we have Chris, and he's phenomenal at putting something together quick, but then, simply prepare and post. So we also support our human resources team when they do career fairs. In that same time frame, since the beginning of January 2023, they have done 23 hiring events statewide. Some of those were district specific, like, for example, District 4 transportation workers. Some of those were type of career specific, looking for like accountants, auditors, different types of careers that we were seeking. And then some of those were at colleges or specific locations. We always participate in the Design and Construction Expo alongside them. The lift for this to implement, we have of course, I mentioned our 30-year newspaper writer, Rusty Marks, who does the bulk of our press releases. And it's very simple, send a press release out a day or two in advance to let them know, how people can apply, what they should bring with them, and the, statewide lineup of career fairs. So those career fairs we support and have been working with Rusty on those. Also, we have a podcast. This week actually marks the 250th episode of our podcast. But one of our shining star returning guests who comes back time and time again is Miss Natalie Holcomb. That's Natalie with the curls and the bright smile pictured. But she sat in on a recent one to talk about job opportunities and then also to talk about our our retention. And, we have career services in human resources. They're very good. They're very passionate, as you can see from the bright look on Natalie's face. But they will work with our current employees to guide them in where they are and where they want to go. So we also, welcome human resources to sit in with us on the podcast at any time. We feature guests from across our DOT, and human resources folks are definitely a recurring guest. The podcast is available on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts at transportationwv.gov. We also tend to focus when we have an episode that we want local media to pick up. We will let, especially our Metro News folks, know, and they pick up statewide. They can reuse our interviews. And that's kind of like a quick way to reach a lot of people, is to kind of give them that before it's out to the public, so that they can go ahead and start cutting and editing and using some of our topics and using some of our voices and interviews to get that out to them. And then the final piece I will touch on for now, we haven't implemented this yet, but we're working on a pilot program where we do targeted videos for types of jobs which Human Resources has a specific push to fill. And one of those is, of course, engineers. We're always looking for engineers. So the footage in the background is our own Troy Morgan. We like to use West Virginia scenery. We like to use local stuff as often as possible to keep it real for the people of our state. Luke put together the videos, shot the interviews, and edited it. And we're going to put together a series of these videos and have them available on Human Resources Attract website so that people can take a look at what's available. So we'll end with this.
Think about how influential the Department of Transportation is. We are a place to stay from the time you get out of high school or college through the time you retire.
I would say that, especially working in this job with the DOH, I get to experience a lot of different qualities of my degrees. To grow my knowledge in my field, it's definitely been a really good help, because we get to look at a lot of those different areas and all in one project.
You know, where can I go where I will get a little bit of everything? A little bit of road design, a little bit of hydraulics, a little bit of structures, just a little bit of everything. And I was like, DOH is probably a good match for me.
I like being able to explore, get to see different areas, and it's been able to grow my knowledge and just get to see more of West Virginia.
Definitely cool to, you know, see what you have on paper, and then when it's finished with construction, to go out there and look and be like, wow, this is really cool. We have one of our guys that actually just got his first bridge that he designed 3D printed. And so that was really cool to see that he got, you know, that's what's out there now.
It's a career and it's an industry where, you know, if you keep reaching forward and learn new things as often as you get the chance, you'll never get to the end of that.
Again, that's a pilot program. We do have more videos coming that we'll be working on. But the bottom line, the way West Virginia looks at it, is no matter the size of the state or the resources you have, you can match up. Think about the culture of your state and their needs and how to reach the people, and be open to sharing the skills that your team has. And we love working with our human resources folks to help bring new people into our agency. Hope to continue that for many years. So for us.
Thank you, Jennifer. Please jot down any questions you have for Jennifer, and we'll get to those after our presentations. Next up, we're going to go to Joe and Carol at the New York State DOT.
You get the idea. So I'm Joe Morrissey. I'm Director of Communications here at DOT. With me is Carol Breen, who's our Director of Marketing and Multimedia Operations. So Maggie gave me a little brief overview of what she was looking for, and it was really focused on the federal side and how New York is helping to hire displaced federal employees. So what I'm going to do is try and give a broad overview of New York State DOT, I guess. Talk about the overall campaign being implemented by New York State government, and bring it down further into how DOT is helping those efforts, I guess. So with that, we'll get started. So New York State is not just New York City, as you can see. There's more than 19 million people living here. To get that number of 220,000 employees, I saw it on a New York Post page last week. I also asked Grok this week, and it said 120,000. So somewhere we have a very big state workforce, what I'd say. We also have 116,000 federal workers in New York State, according to the Department of Labor, a number I just got today. And as it relates to me and Carol, in 6 months out of the year, we have lots and lots of snow. I was at my daughter's softball game last week and had a winter hat on. It was a lot of fun. Right now, I'm looking outside. It's about 80 degrees and sunny, and it's wonderful. So we'll take it as we can get it. But our plow drivers and the whole team works very hard during snow and ice season. So we have approximately 8,000 employees at DOT, engineers, planners, snowplow drivers, highway maintenance workers. We have 11 regions all across the state, rural, urban, suburban, you name it, we have it, all with a unique set of challenges. New York is also a very natural fit for workers from DC and vice versa. If you can see the picture of Joe Biden right here, next to him is a guy with a beard. His name is Stephen Geffert. He actually sat 2 offices down from me a few years ago, and then I was watching the State of the Union, and he was the president's body man. And to the right of that is our Commissioner Marie-Therese Dominguez with Governor Hochul. That's on the Kensington Expressway in Buffalo during the real bad storm we had a few years ago. And she came to New York from DC, so a lot of cross-pollination there. As far as what we do a lot. Planes, trains, and automobiles. We have a $34.3 billion capital plan. Right now, our big projects are the I-81 viaduct project in Syracuse at $2.25 billion, which is basically taking a viaduct down that split the city of Syracuse in 2 since the 1960s. We're also replacing the Livingston Avenue Rail Bridge, which traverses the Hudson River between the cities of Rensselaer and and Albany. It's a Civil War era bridge, and we're turning it into a modern structure to reconnect both communities and enhance upstate passenger and freight rail. And you see in the corner right here on the bottom is the Hunts Point Access Interchange project. What we're doing with that project is we're creating a direct path for truck traffic, getting about 10,000 trucks off local streets every day by giving them a direct route to Hunts Point Terminal Market, which basically feeds New York City every day. So that's just a broad overview of some of the big things we have going on. And like every state agency, we have retirements galore. This is I took a picture of this last week by our elevator. She had her party last week. Her last day was yesterday. I'm talking about Tracy, not Bonnie. And this will come down, and next week, 3 more will come up. So by calendar year 2029, nearly 2,400 DOT employees in New York will be eligible to retire, or 28%. I actually thought the number was higher, to be honest with you. I had a placeholder there for 50%, and it's only at 28. So, like a lot of you, we struggled during COVID and attracting talent post-COVID, especially given the new environment of remote work and everything. So we had a hiring freeze in place. Governor Hochul lifted the hiring freeze to confront a rash of departures and retirements during COVID. Also implemented 12 weeks of full parental leave for all state workers. And there's a new program that was created in 2023 to help ease the process of hiring. Now, if I'm going to the civil service department for a grade 18, which is a mid-level position, usually I would have to go through a list. And after a while, after 5 or 6 years, that list got pretty stale, and I'm going through the same people over and over again. This is a pilot that temporarily waives the civil service exam requirements, meaning that it's based on your qualifications. And if you meet the right qualifications, you can get hired in that position without taking a test. I've probably hired 3 or 4 that way in my office already, and it's a very effective program. Gives you a lot more flexibility as a hiring manager. So as far as DOT goes, office assistants, bus and truck inspectors, real estate and environmental professionals, engineering technicians, and that's my words, lowly public information specialists. But we are getting good qualified candidates, and we're not going back to the well over and over and over again. I see that especially in some of our larger units where they're basically looking at the same list with 3 people at the top over and over again. So it gives people like me flexibility anyway, and a lot of other units that are in need of workers. We also implemented GeoPay. So one of the things that, as far as DOT goes, we have a very large, robust highway maintenance force, 3,800 people. But we kept losing them to other state agencies who paid more, to localities who paid more. So we came up with a system back in 2023, where what we call internally GeoPay, I guess. So our maintenance forces received increases for ranging from $9,000 to $16,000, depending on their position and geographic location where they work. They kept us competitive, and honestly, I mean, some people internally hate me saying it, but it stopped the bleeding, which is what it was intended for. And in December, you see the headline from Governor Hochul there. We implemented a GeoPay package for 2,600 engineers and related titles across the state. 1,620 are located here at DOT in New York. They received between $7,000 and $13,500 pay increase to help us better attract and retain qualified staff. It's a new program, and I don't have any tangible results to share yet, but I imagine if we talk next year, I probably will. That brings me to the federal workforce. And like I said, New York is a place that does attract talent from DC traditionally, both to and from. Let me see if this works, Maggie. So back in March, Governor Hochul announced, DOJ says you're fired, we say you're hired. New York wants you, as a campaign to attract federal workers. Let me see if this will play. It's 15 seconds, so if you can't hear it, I'll move on.
The federal government might say you're fired, but here in New York, we say you're hired. In fact, we love federal workers. Whatever your skills, we value public service. Check out potential jobs at ny.gov/we want you. Come join our New York State family.
So not sure if you heard that or not, but
We did.
so, okay, good. So the governor started an ad campaign for federal workers. There's one in Union Station in Washington, D.C., another one in Moynihan, brand new Moynihan Train Hall. And we also did a bunch of earned / social media at the state agency level. Carol, do you want to talk about that briefly?
Sure. So we mixed in the Doge ads with our regular recruitment graphics and posts about that were specific to engineers and plow drivers and that type of thing. The most popular one was on Facebook in March, and the post reached 52,000 people, unique users. But that led to 454 link clicks, which is a click-through rate of almost 5%, which is fairly good on a Facebook post. There were over 1,000 reactions, hundreds of comments, hundreds of shares, and because we got so many link clicks, that actually led to some of the people we hired, that they saw it through this post and then came to us and turned into actual employees. So the Facebook messaging was very effective in this case.
Great, thanks, Carol.
Mm.
So beyond that, DOL has been taking the lead as far as recruitment goes. I did speak with my counterpart at New York State DOL today. They have virtual job fairs aimed at federal employees, 298 attendees thus far at these virtual ones. We have our first in-person job fair in New York State next week, June 10th in Brooklyn, hosted by DOL and Congressman Dan Goldman. There are webinars for federal employees. 1,500 have signed up for services on resume writing, interview training, etc. And DOL is helping them navigate the unemployment insurance process and trying to help them find opportunities in state government. There's also a new website created as part of this campaign. 12 million views on state jobs websites since the launch, including 3.2 who had never previously used the site. To date, New York has received 6918 applications, conducted 554 interviews with federal workers, and has hired, and I'll say hired and rehired 67 federally impacted workers in state service. And as it pertains to DOT, in February, we identified the top 4 titles we were hiring for as part of the campaign: engineers, engineering technicians, analysts, and investigators. We've received 174 applications to date, 14 interviewed, 9 federal workers hired or in some cases rehired by DOT thus far, 13.4% of the statewide total hired. Now, they came from Federal Rail Administration, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, FHWA, Postal Service. They were hired as hearing officers, environmental specialists, professional engineers, transportation analysts, research specialists, engineering technicians. There's also a lot not reflected. I will say I'm interviewing a speechwriter right now. I'm running toward the end of that process. And 3 out of the first 4 people I interviewed were on the federal chopping block, which was a very big eye opener for me. So beyond that, what's next? So you can see this quote from Governor Hochul. And last week I went on Spectrum News to talk about some of the governor's investments as part of the state budget. And I said, New York State is 100% focused on the task at hand. There are things within our control and things without our control, and we are concentrating on what's in our control right now. So that's what I got. I hope it was informative.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Thank you and Carol both for that. Now remember, we're still taking questions in the chat. Last up, I'm going to turn things over to Riley and Heather out in Nebraska, and then we'll get to the Q&A for all of our speakers and wrap up hopefully right around 2 o'clock. Riley and Heather.
All right, so we back last winter, Heather's team came to us in comms and said, hey, we want to do this new scholarship that kind of attracts people to some hard to fill positions for us. So we kind of sat down and kind of started talking about that. We came up with the Good Life, Great Journey Scholarship. And our motto at the Nebraska DOT, as you can see, is Good Life, Great Journey. So what the program is it's a scholarship for a technical college, which we have around Nebraska as some of our community colleges. And what the scholarship all covers is the cost of tuition for the degree, housing, and again, up to 100% of the tuition, books, fees, and if the job you are hired into requires tools and you need those tools, the DOT would reimburse you for that. And then along with that, there were certain requirements to retain your scholarship. So some of those qualifications were, you must be enrolled in one of the approved programs, which was our hard to fill spots that were like diesel mechanic, electronics, and land surveying. There's a few other ones we have, but those 3 were the biggest ones that Heather and her team saw that as a need. You must be enrolled to meet all the requirements in the program that you're enrolling in. You must be a full-time student and remain in good standings. And then you must earn 24 credit hour 20 credit hours within 24 months of college enrollment. And then a part of that too is you must be able to be an intern to work during the week and during school breaks as well. And then you must be engaged with your intern, showing up, being present, all the things that, a good employee would do. And really what the program was designed to do for us at NDOT was to help place people in hard to fill jobs. We were just seeing a lot of high turnover in certain positions, like we had said, the diesel mechanics, land surveyors, electronic techs. So really this paid internship at NDOT location gave a chance for a person that might not be able to afford college or might not have the resources to go to college. It gives them that opportunity and then hands-on experience as well. And then once someone completes the program, they do have an opportunity for full-time employment within NDOT. And the funding for this program was really kind of innovative through our director's office and Heather's team. They use FHWA 501(e) funds, and Heather can kind of talk more about that as we go into it. So really where our team came into play for communications was Heather kind of approached us and said, hey, we have this idea. We need help marketing it and kind of branding it. Can you guys help us? So from a comm standpoint, we said, yeah, absolutely, we can do that. So we built a web page that has all the information in it, all the programs, all the partner colleges, any kind of FAQs that people would want to know. They could jump over our website and look at that. We also built an internal application site that we worked with Heather and her team to say, hey, what questions do you want to know? What can what do you want someone to know as they apply, and what do you need to know? And we built that on Microsoft Forms, and then we let Heather's team to go in and test it out, kind of troubleshoot it, see what is going on, and then we could take that data, they could download it into Excel and kind of formulate what they want and do those different things. And then all the printables, so anything that they needed to hand out at hiring fairs, when they'd go into high schools or colleges to meet and recruit people, they had all those. And then any graphics we did online, on social media, any of those things we worked with. Additionally, we did all the media relations for it as well. So we wrote a press release that went out statewide across all of Nebraska to kind of say, hey, we're launching the scholarship, and work with some colleges and those things. And then once Heather had her scholarship recipients picked, we invited them into our Lincoln complex and invited the lieutenant governor and the director down to do a press event. So we had local media attend that. And with that press event, they kind of had their moment with their family, and we did a signing ceremony. As I said, my background's in college athletics, and that's kind of a huge trend right now in college athletics, is to have that signing ceremony when you go to college. And we thought that'd be a really cool added event, and we were spot on with that guess. It was really well received, and all those things that go with it. It was well done. And then the social media marketing, that was also big for us, because the audience we were trying to reach is a very media or social media. They live on social media. They're there. So how do we find and market them? And next, Heather, I'll have you kind of jump in and talk about the roles you and your team had.
You bet. Thank you, Riley. We've had a really good partnership with our communications team. They, as Riley mentioned, have done all of those wonderful things, connecting us to the audience of students, or really just any individual that may be interested in furthering their career with one of these opportunities in our hard to fill positions. So our recruitment team, though, is more of the boots on the ground, working with the colleges and the high schools to market our scholarship program. Of course, this means sharing flyers that were created by Riley's team and the good word at college career fairs, but it really, there's so much more in-depth work that happens. And what we are specifically doing is building relationships with instructors at high schools and colleges. We're closely communicating with these instructors to find the most motivated kids who are already possibly enrolled in some of these programs of study, like our land survey GIS technicians. It's good for us to get into the classes, talk to the teachers, find out who is really doing great and may need, some help to additionally continue going to school. Additionally, we also talk to high school guidance counselors. They're a huge resource for us, who share the kids who need the opportunity most and who won't waste it. So we really get some very valuable applicants by seeking out those guidance counselors and college and high school teachers and instructors. So here at any state agency, really, our biggest pitfall to hiring is usually money. We may not pay as well as the private sectors. And so something that we really do as a recruitment team, and what Riley's team really tries to portray in all of the communications that they share, is we have so much more to sell, right? We have the feel good of doing public service work. I also want to talk about how I work with my recipients from the time they are selected, and I guide them through their schooling, checking in on their grades and their well-being, and guiding them through their internship, making sure that they are having the very best experience possible. I always joke that I have so many kids, right? I actually have three children of my own, and my oldest was a high school senior when we kicked off and started this scholarship program. And
Right.
so I got to, at home, go through the excitement with her while she was receiving scholarships toward college. And I was also able to celebrate with multiple kids who we offered the opportunity here at NDOT. So it really is wonderful that I get to touch the lives of our first recipients and many more as the years go on. And then, of course, the last bullet up here is the big job of really tracking payments and comparing that to our funding. And I work really closely with our controller division and our local assistance division to really stay on track. We've currently brought on 5 students in our first year. We are looking to bring on 5 more this fall, so we will have 10 total students. We are really excited. I want to have Riley pop on to the next slide, and I just want to talk about the very first picture there in the upper left. This is my poster child. His name is Tyler, and Tyler is what we really hope happens with all of these students. Tyler was not a part of the scholarship program. That wasn't in existence, but he's really my motivation with this. Tyler graduated high school in 2012. He graduated a 2-year technical college, which is what we require of our program, with his Associate of Applied Science in Diesel Technology. That was in 2014. The very next year, in less than a year, he then began working his career as an entry-level auto diesel mechanic with us. In 2022, he promoted to a lead mechanic, and most recently, through retirement. I know we have a lot of retirements happening at our agency. I'm not sure if everyone is like that, but we had retirements, and he was promoted to a district mechanic. And so that is the top of the mechanic series for us, and it's very exciting, and it just really shows how we can really get great individuals who go through those 2-year technical programs.
So, yeah, and that was also, so we use that picture on our website for the marketing banner there. And then just the other pictures on the bottom left was the first recipients with our lieutenant governor on the left, and then our director, Vicki Kramer, on the right. And it was just kind of a really cool moment for them all as the first picture, and then Heather in the middle with her kids, to go through that moment and have, the governor. And that was one thing when we planned this event with Heather was, okay, we know this is a huge deal to Heather, her team, to NDOT, but also our governor is really big on families, kids, and education. So this also tied in with his initiatives as well. And then he couldn't be there that day. So that's why Lieutenant Governor was there. And as we look doing this into the future, getting the governor in to kind of be there for the signing ceremonies and be a part of that. So it all ties together in our mission of, the good life, great journey, and it meets his agenda as well. And then on the right photo is just kind of the picture we took that day of the room. There's family members in there, media was in there. It was just kind of that capstone moment for us, and all the hard work that went into this. And then just on the far right there is an example of the marketing handout that we did for Heather's team. On the front side of it just kind of explains what it is, and it goes into those areas, and then a QR code to link them back to our website. So we could see those things, and they just had kind of like a take home that, if they had more questions or wanted to know anything about it, they had that. So it was a really cool experience for us. Work with Heather's team. We're doing it again, and it's kind of led, I think, more open partnership on other ideas as well with HR. And we just continue to work together on a lot of these things. So yeah, and if you have any questions, on the comm side or the HR side, feel free to reach out to either Heather or I, either email or shoot us a text or call on our cell phones.
All right, thank you. I just to save time, I'm gonna kind of just launch into the many questions that we've gotten in the chat. let's start with, since we're just off Nebraska's presentation, did the program include current employees that may want to change positions but have no experience or education?
Thank you, Maggie. Yes, I was trying to type as fast as I could. Yes, it sure did. We did make it available to our internal employees. However, we do have a state statute that is connected to our NEPR's retirement that does require individuals who leave a permanent position where they were receiving NEPR's funds to take a 180-day break in service. So because of that, it's not very convenient for existing employees. However, our existing employees are some of our best words of mouth. We have multiple applications that have come in where they put, how did you hear about us? Are you related to anybody who works at NDOT? That doesn't pull any favors, but we do ask for that information, and we see a lot of referrals from our current employees. So everybody knows it's a great program.
Awesome, thank you. And I do see now that you were replying to things in the chat. Sorry for
Yeah,
that.
that's okay. No, you're good.
A question for Joe and Carol at New York State DOT. The quick response to federal worker firings from your governor's office is impressive. And I'll also say probably people that took the deferred resignation as well. I mean, along with that. Did your governor's office come up with a federal worker idea, or did DOT or state agencies have to advocate together for something like that? And this person wonders what structures or connections are in place to make it happen so quickly. And I'll say, other states wanted to do the same thing, but maybe didn't have the infrastructure in place so quickly, but wanted to capitalize on all of that knowledge, that industry knowledge, and bring them in-house. So tell us a little bit about what you know from that perspective.
My perspective is this was a top-down approach that was led by the governor's office, directed toward state agencies to make this a priority.
Awesome. Let's see. I'm going to go back to the top here. Christine, I think you had a question and I hope I answered it. We don't send out the webinar to attendees, but we do post on the Transcom website, and so we'll make that available to all, and we'll make sure that folks, especially folks that aren't familiar with Transcom as much, know where to find that. Jennifer from West Virginia DOT, do you have any metrics on your podcast listenership and how that's impacted interest or traffic to the DOT or to your career opportunities?
All right. With our podcast, we have a lower viewership than we would, say, Facebook, or if we put a press release out and send it out to everyone, for the news to pick up. Maybe 200 listens a week. One of the higher numbers we've got was 350. But when we send it, of course, the interview to Metro News and have them kind of pick up, that is a statewide radio network that everybody has access to. It's one of the biggest media in West Virginia. So that's a good way to amplify. And then with the podcast, it's more of a steady beat. It's different types of messages packaged for different people. Some people may get their whole message from a headline. Some people may actually read a story. And then the people who want to actually dive in and listen to a half-hour podcast are the ones who really want to understand. So there's kind of a quality we perceive to be there with, listenerships and taking the time to understand DOT better. Also, our return on investment, it takes a half hour to record our podcast, and it takes about a half hour for me to edit and send it out so we can post it and such. And to get 200 maybe listens for an hour's work a week, we think it's a good thing to have, like a color to have in our palette. So the numbers aren't massive like they would be with a press release, but it's something steady, a little bit something different to offer.
Awesome, thank you. Our friend Nitori from Kentucky, and this is a question for everybody and anyone else on the line that wants to put in the chat their answers to this. What kind of assets do you take to career fairs to promote your DOT and career opportunities? I think that's always a good question because we're always looking for really kind of different and new things to stand out. Does anybody have something that they take along with them that's gotten a good response?
Applications, so people can apply right there.
I was gonna jump in. We do like these little plastic construction hats. I know like they were really popular with like firefighter hats and police hats. We did that for some different marketing events, and they go so fast. And then the other one we have done are clear bags. We did that at our buckle up, phone down event, and they went. You have to have a clear bag to get into any event in Nebraska, so they went really fast.
And I will chime in on those plastic hats. That's not just for kids, right? Like the big kids love them. The high school, college kids, they love them. And then they're walking around the whole fair with our construction hat on.
Great. I think many of you kind of touched on who your target, what your target roles were that you were looking to fill. But I'll just put this out there from Laura. Which roles are you typically hiring federally displaced workers? So maybe this is more for Joe and Carol that aren't from a transportation background.
You take this put my video back on. So, I mean, most of them have some sort of transportation background. Some have environmental background. I do know that one of the people that we hired actually worked in a legal office down in DC and is now a judge of some kind in our counsel's office. So it's a variety, and that's a legal background. So that translates over.
Great, thank you. There's one up top that I missed here. And I don't have the answer to this. I'm not sure. All of you can probably chime in, but how many states have civil service exams? I don't expect anybody on this call to know that number. It looks like most of our job openings are application reviews, but may still have degree requirements. Anyone have anything to say on this issue?
The only thing I'll say is that the New York Helps program has been a game changer for us and a lot of different state agencies.
Okay, I know we're getting some things in the chat as well. We had a question, are FHWA 501e funds at risk right now? That I don't know the answer to. I can chat with some of our policy folks. But that I'm sorry, I don't know from a comms office. I'm not sure about that. Let's see. Yeah, we have a comment here at ODOT. We often lose well-qualified employees to local agencies or private consultants due to location, specifically engineers. What programs do you have in place that are not directly linked to increased payroll? Anybody have anything on that?
This for engineers you're talking about?
It says specifically engineers, yes.
Okay. So we do have a pilot program we are doing with University of Buffalo, I believe, right? Carol is at Buff State. Carol just jumped off. A place in Buffalo where Maggie's from, that's what I'll say, where our engineers can go and work toward getting their master's degrees. So that is one, it's a pilot program that we're doing in Buffalo, and we're hoping to expand it to other places across New York.
And then at NDOT, we do a lot of engineer internships. I think we have 50 some. We have 2,100 employees at NDOT. So I kudos to all of you that were saying 8,000 and so on employees. But we do this engineer internship, and we really feel like if we can get people in the door and get them acclimated to our culture, they really are going to want to stay. And we see that quite often. So guess we're trying to just get our hooks in them while they're in college and help them grow. And then of course, we pay for different things, the FE, the PE, those sorts of things, the study materials, all that. So don't know if that's helpful.
And one more question here. I saw a couple presentations that pointed out rehiring. Can anybody talk to whether or not rehiring, working to recruit or re-recruit those folks, is that any different than what you are doing to recruit new employees?
Just anecdotally from West Virginia, don't have the numbers from our HR folks, but what it feels like happens is we have people, you know, the dollars are more in this engineering firm over there, whatever, but they go over, find out the grass isn't really greener and come back. And we have a lot of people who worked here, you know, generations and families and that kind of thing. So.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to kick things back over to you kind of to close up shop here.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for being a part of today's webinar. If we didn't get to your question or you think of something else, please feel free to reach out to our panelists. They're going to start putting their emails in the chat. And like I mentioned, this webinar is recorded and we will post a link on transportation.org/communications. I'm going to drop that in the chat just so everyone has that. And that will be up within the next few days. We'll have information on the June edition of our Transcom webinar series soon, which, spoiler alert, may focus on privacy issues. So stay tuned for that. Look for that email announcement or check back on the Transcom website. And don't forget, Transcom annual meeting is coming up soon in Chicago, so get those Skills Awards nominations in. On behalf of the Transcom committee here, I want to thank all of today's presenters and thank everyone for being a part of this and contributing to the session with some great questions. We'll see you next month.